Welcome, everyone, to another Humpday
Hello.
Q&A. So, let's... You're trying to hold the logo, Scott. This is terrible. Okay, right. So, let's get into it. So, Chris Sells will be joining us later to talk about the Go router that he's been working on, which is going to blow our minds. We were talking about it last week briefly, but I want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, as they say, and hear that from Chris directly about what he's been working on. We also have an announcement to do today, which we'll get to in short order. Let's go through the people that we have on the stream. So first of all, I'm going to bring up this slide. My name is Simon Leifert, Community Leader and CTO at Dev Angels London. Scott?
I am Scott Stahl, a Community Leader, founder of the Humpday Q&A, and I kind of work for Simon now.
Majid?
And my name is Majid, GD, and a Community Leader as well.
And then finally, Steph, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Patterson, and I co-manage the Flutteristas, which is a community for women and non-binary with a passion for Flutter. I also am a contractor with RayWenderlich.com as a tech editor and Final Pass editor.
Welcome, everyone. So we have a little bit of things to cover just at the beginning of the stream here. So the do's and don'ts. Be nice, respectful, and constructive whilst interacting on the YouTube live chat. Don't post anything even if it's out of content rude or offensive. Do not advertise or promote anything, and do not spam anything. Again, we get your message, get your question, your message the first time, and any harassment is not tolerated. Basically, we reserve the right to block anyone, so don't do it, otherwise you'll get blocked.
And also, we do share block lists with the Flutter Community Slack and a number of other places. So one of the interesting things about Flutter Community and that has kept it a decent place is you can't get banned from just one place. All the ban lists are shared. If you get stupid in one place, you're suddenly gone from them all. So that's it. Simon, we have announcements?
Yes, we have announcements. I've kind of missed. We don't have like a drum roll sound effect.
Well, we can make a drum roll. Should we? Yes.
Terrible. Right. I guess we'll get straight into it. And I think we have a message here from Tim. Take it away, Tim.
I'm Tim Sneath, and I'm the Director of Product Management for Flutter and Dart here at Google. So we're really excited to announce a new partnership with Ray Wenderlich, the team behind what we think is an exceptional learning resource, and that's the book Flutter Apprentice. And we're giving away the Flutter Apprentice book to you to read, to learn Flutter over the next 3 months. We really like this book because it takes you on a journey from Hello World, or in Flutter's case, the counter app, all the way to building a fully featured app. And along the way, you'll get a grand tour of key parts of the framework. It's full of practical and update examples. It includes code labs, and it's written with Flutter 2.5 in mind. So we think you'll really like it. And to help you make your way through the book, we're also co-producing a book club with the Flutter community. So each week, our newest Flutter DevRel team member, Craig Lebenz, will take you through key concepts from a couple of chapters. You'll also have the opportunity to ask questions about those chapters live to Craig, to the authors of the book, and to other panel guests. We hope the book club will keep you excited and reading through the end. And it's worth making it to the end, where, spoiler alert, you'll learn how to deploy your apps to iOS and Android. So please join us every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, on the Flutter Community YouTube channel. See you there.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, I'm Craig Lebenz from the Flutter team. Each week, you're going to get a reading assignment, and then the following week, we'll cover all the concepts together. I'll also be live coding a sample app that will build up over the next 10 weeks, applying the concepts from the book as we go. I'm not going to code the whole thing live on air. That's way too boring, but the full repository will be made available. We hope that you'll code along with us, applying the same concepts, but using your own app design with a theme that interests you. This is one of the best ways to learn. For the next week, your reading assignment is chapters 1 and 2. In our first episode, we're going to walk through those chapters and talk about how you can get going with your own app that you're going to create along with us. And now, take it away, Stephanie.
Hi, Dash. My name is Stephanie Patterson, and I'm one of the co-managers for the Flutteristas, a worldwide community for women and non-binary who have a passion for Flutter. I am also a Flutter Team tech editor and Final Pass editor at raywonderlic.com. I will be helping out with book club content, participating in content discussions, and answering questions. Some of our authors will be attending to answer questions about their chapters. We can't wait to see you. Dash.
Hi, I'm Scott Stahl, one of the leaders of the Flutter community, creator of Humpday Q&A, and a full-time developer at DevAngels London. I'm going to be around to answer a lot of your questions throughout this program, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Hey Dash, how's it going? My name's Simon Lightfoot. I'm CTO at DevAngels London, a Flutter development agency. At least one of myself or Scott will be around to help produce the show and answer your questions throughout the event. We'll look forward to speaking to you soon.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fulmer, a Flutter Community Program Manager with the Flutter team. I'll be mostly behind the scenes putting together the content for this book club, but I'll pop in from time to time.
Hi, I'm Esra Kada, one of the leaders of Flutteristas and a Flutter developer. I will be hosting the show with Danielle Cox, who is not here right now, but you will see her smiling face a lot in the weeks to come. And remember, your reading assignment for the next week is Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. See you there!
Thank you very much, guys. That was awesome. Right. I'm excited, actually. I've had a little bit of preview of the book myself, so we've got a lot to happen over the next few weeks. Steph, can you fill us in on what Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 are about?
The first chapter is about, it's called Hello Flutter. And as Tim alluded, you start with, as you know, when you create a Flutter project, you've got the counter app, and you're walking through changing it to Hello Flutter. And then the second chapter will introduce you to, each chapter builds on the previous chapter. And so then the second chapter introduces you to more about widgets and things like that. And then it just continues to grow. And it was such a pleasure working on this book. And we're thrilled that Google has done this, making it free for everyone for 3 months, and blown away. We worked really hard on it. And I just want to give shout outs to all the authors and the other editors on the book, because it's been fantastic.
This is the new cover of the book I'm putting up on stream.
Yeah, that's a special cover that's specifically for this partnership with Google.
So we'll be joined by members of the Flutter community throughout the following weeks. I'm most interested, to be honest, over the whole process. I'm kind of curious as to what people are going to be building. I mean, my hope is that they're going to take the sample code that we're working on and take that alongside reading the book and produce their very first Flutter app. I think
also, Tim had mentioned about deploying to iOS and Android, but really another interesting thing that may not have been clear is this book, and what we're going to do walks you through actually deploying to the app stores. Okay, this is going to be up there for people to download when you get done with it. So.
I'm kind of curious. I've got an open question to the group. If what would be your if you were just starting out, what would you say your very first Flutter app would be? Like, is there? I mean, I remember the card game you were trying to make, Scott, a long time ago. That might be an interesting first app. Maybe not that
one.
No, you're not that one, but maybe something.
I was doing the Cards Against Humanity clone, and yeah, some things just don't belong in work.
But I mean, there's room for that. How about you, Majid? If you were to make a first app, what would you say your first one would have been or would be?
I think I want to do some kind of IoT stuff with Flutter. So probably a little hacking into devices, hardwares, as well as Flutter. Probably.
I can imagine. So I just got hold of one of these, the Raspberry Pi like nanos.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I wanna hook this up to something fun, and then have an app that controls that with Flutter. That might be some fun.
You know what I have actually in mind?
For our book.
Sorry?
That's a little out of scope for the book.
No,
I did mess up. Chapter 1 is getting started. Chapter 2 is Hello Flutter. So it's my mess up. Nothing like starting off the stream screwing up there.
Don't worry.
We've never done that before.
And now,
No.
Steph, if you were to do your very first, Flutter app, I think I know what it would be. Would it be the Roadster in Space one?
I wanted to convert my iOS Roadster in Space app, but when I was starting, there was still too much to learn. I have created a Flutter app, and my first one was it's a Q&A and then helping you make decisions. And so it actually is in both stores. So I was really excited when I got that one done, and I need to add additional functionality to it. So that's in process as well. Another one that I've had on the back burner that I just need to do is I want to create a movie trivia app, because I love movies and I love trivia.
I've always wanted to make my own audiobook player. Again, all of these are quite heavy apps, right? I mean, this is me talking, right? But yeah, I feel like my own sort of competitor to Audible kind of deal, right? So I do wonder if there's sort of obviously license prompts around it, like you won't be able to access Audible's database or anything like that. But
Right.
it's interesting nonetheless.
And a lot of the ones that I talked about, the features that are covered in our book will give you that kind of leverage. You'll learn all different kinds of widgets. First, you'll learn what a widget is for people out there who know nothing about Flutter. This is a great way to get into Flutter, just starting from scratch, be it you've never coded in your life, or if you're coming from another development platform. And so you can take and build based on what you're learning in the book. And so I can't wait to see what people come up with. I hope they share. And I know my team also will.
Sorry, one of the things that I always notice. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it. All yours.
One of the things that I notice, as Steph was saying, some people come from various different environments. And I always tell folks when we're doing workshops and talks, be patient with each other, because there are people who may have come from a design perspective who need to have what a callback is explained to them. People who came from maybe web development who don't understand the difference between a state pattern, an observer pattern, and a composite pattern. And back-end people don't know why material design is important, why the size of a touch target matters, or what an aspect ratio is. So Flutter appeals to a huge swath of people who come from a lot of different backgrounds. And please remember to be patient with each other and help each other out.
That's what's important. I love that about the Flutter community is, and I am guilty of it, I have imposter syndrome. I try really hard, and you all three have been trying to get me out of it. But Flutter community is such a great place to ask for help, because people are understanding and help you there. And Scott mentioned material design. If you're coming from iOS, you have no clue what that is. But never fear, if you're only going to do an iOS app, you can still use Flutter. And there's the Cupertino is in there too. So you can do both. And
the human interface guidelines.
Yes, totally. And it matches. And I'm so excited. I've been in love with Flutter since I got introduced to it a little over, what year is this? 2 years.
20 minutes ago.
I'm really sorry. But yeah, Anyway, Majid, you need to talk. I'm going to go on mute because I'm so excited. You have no idea how
Actually, I
excited.
think Majid's got a interesting possible thing coming up, don't you?
Well, I do, but this news right now, I think it's very hot and very, exciting,
We'll
more
have
than what
our
I
own
want to say.
announcement stream for Majid, I think.
Yeah,
Yes.
well,
What I wanna
definitely
know
we're going to
is-
talk about.
Majid, you weren't in the inner circle that knew about this. Tell me what you think about this, because the three of us we've been
This is-
working
Oh,
on
yeah,
this, and you were out of the loop. You're like, can you join Humpday Q&A? We're like, yes, but we're not telling you anything. It's
Well,
going to be a surprise.
Well, I have to admit I am surprised. So, because I didn't know anything about it. So, and I'm not supposed to know everything, right? So that's good sometimes to get surprised. But I'm really excited because I actually had a plan to buy this book. Like I want to buy any Flutter books anyway because I want to know people, authors, and everyone, right? And right now, when I saw this, I just get excited. Right now, I posted 2 tweets about it. Right now, people, I just encourage everyone, go get it faster. That's a great
Yeah, one
opportunity
thing-
because.
No, you
Go
can
ahead.
still buy the book, but what's really nice is part of this whole program, it's an online reader. So everyone has access to it. You still have the option, if you're in it and you're really liking it, and there's other formats that you can actually purchase during this 3 months. It's not just, it's only free and you can't make make a note, if you want the paper copy, and
Actually,
it's still there, but I am so excited. You should have seen the faces on my book team face when they told us. Our mouths just dropped. And I will admit that when we did the first edition, I held people to a really high standard. I'm like, if Google doesn't like it this way, we're not doing it this way. And so that's part of, we made sure it had trailing commas, and we went through some additional edits. So this is edition 2, and we are up to date with 2.5 and Dart updates. And so that's awesome. Sorry, I'm just crazy excited, and I just need to. I didn't sleep last night either, and I don't.
I mean, you should be, right? That's you should be, and that is the outcome of doing a great job. So you've done a great job, you and the team, and now we are seeing the results. And definitely, I'm gonna go and read it. I had that in my plan, and I also encourage everyone to buy the book if they can, because it's a kind of support for you and the authors. It also encourages you to keep this book up to date and add more and cooler stuff as much as possible.
It's not a thin book.
Oh my God, that's so thick.
Yeah, and you'll see what I did is I actually took the cover of the Google book and I taped it to the front of our book. But this is not a small book. So I mean,
don't give away the secret, Steph.
But this is not just a really tiny book that you could just sit down and skim through really fast. So
and she didn't tape that to the dictionary. Now that is the actual book. It's
so actually,
got a different cover for the
book.
Google event.
Let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit. let's talk a little bit about this actually. So for anyone that didn't see, you can go to flutter.dev/apprentice-giveaway. There's also a lovely blog post that's pinned in the YouTube channel, in the YouTube chat, which is written by Kelvin. There's also a great tweet about this on the official channel, so you can go see these and this little video and everything. But we can go through right now on stream and look at what's on the contents of this. So this is what what the team's put together.
Let's there's something blocking the book here. There we go.
Let's turn off the overlays for a moment. We get the full experience. So this is the lovely new cover. Raiseware for Ray Wenderlich. I can never pronounce it.
Wenderlich.
Yeah, is that right? Is that? I feel like I'm
Wenderlich.
I feel like it should be like Lisch or something like
nope.
Germany. Okay. Anyway,
there's even a video out there, people talking about how to pronounce it. But yes.
So follow these steps here to sign up. and you can join us back here. We've set up a playlist which will contain, after the stream, we're going to be putting up the introduction video that you just saw, and we'll be each week that we do the videos, they'll all go in that playlist. So just return back to the playlist for updates if you can't come in live on the day. This is the schedule that we've come up with. So sign up, free access today. Start reading chapters 1 and 2, ready for next week, 13th, and we'll be following through the book chapter by chapter to really get you down through everything. So yeah, as it says here, we're going to go through widgets, navigation, data persistence, network and civilization, state management, streams, deployment, the entire works, right? So you're going to get the knowledge to take everything from A to Z basically, and get your first app out the door, which is, I think, yeah, it's not a small amount of work. So it's going to please bear with us.
But that's very quick. Can I ask a question, Steph, or maybe anyone who has read this book? Do you cover just Android and iOS, or like in some chapters you also touch web or maybe other platforms?
Other platforms are discussed because of the scope of this book. And when we were doing the initial update or writing the first edition, so there were some mentions of the other ones, but we're not focused as much on those. And there are plans that we will update them. To be honest, we were going to be starting our update this month, but when Google said, hey, by the way, we want to provide this book for free for 3 months, we had to really go fast. And so we made our updates. And so we did add 1 chapter to the book, and but it's on Firestore. But the other things we haven't added yet. And actually, one of the authors who does the navigation stuff, because of what Chris is going to be here talking about, he's already diving in to plan and add that to our book at a later date.
Speaking of Chris, we have a question here that Chris seems to have answered, and we are taking questions right now. We're going to be taking questions in general for at least about another half an hour. And then that's when Chris is going to get here.
Yes, there was please post your questions in the chat.
Here we go. Somebody's asking about Material U. And to let you know, you can check the link that I just posted in the chat there. Chris did a great article on the updates for Flutter 2.5, and that includes Material U. And apparently I did not put a space in the correct section. So let me just put the link alone. So that might be easier to click. So yes, that's a fantastic article that Chris put together about Flutter 2.5 with the updates, and that has an answer there. Any more announcements for today? Lots of announcements about GoRouter, which everyone who has looked at it is ready to switch right away.
It's not. I think the key is it's not very often you find a project that it satisfies all your requirements, right? Like you might find something that a developer's made as an open source project that does this finite set of functionality that does what you wanted to, that does what they wanted to do, right? I don't know.
Yes.
Subset of functionality that you need, and then you go, oh, I need this other thing. So now you go find another package and another package, and you end up with 4 packages to do some sort of superset of functionality, and then this sort of go routes coming on. When I started reading the documentation, it's like, oh wow, it does this, it went tick, 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 and I was like, okay, I want to use this, right? Because all those things that I would have had separate packages for or separate mechanisms for, it kind of wrapped it up in a nice bundle. But Chris is going to be here in a bit to talk about that.
It's not often that you get the person who designed a package who is also on the Flutter team to come here and explain it to you. That's really cool.
Do we have any other questions in the chat? Let's I mean, honestly, any question, any Flutter related question, we'll see where we go.
Would you like me to show the interface on the website for the book?
Please, yeah. I mean, if you want to walk through the sign up process, that also might
sign up process.
Is that complicated?
I'm not prepared for that one.
Okay, no, don't worry about it. It was just a throw out the comment. Don't worry.
I actually just signed up. I can explain how it goes.
So go for it. Yes, tell us.
Will and Majid to it. That'd be awesome.
It's just very easy. Well, so on the website where you can maybe, Simon, show the link to the website.
The right.
Or maybe you can.
So the Ray Wender one.
No, I mean just show the link to the Flutter Dev page for the giveaway. Yeah, here you go. When you go to the website, then there is a button. So obviously, it's a very big button. So just click on the button, and then it actually redirects you to the book page in another website. So very easy. Just simply sign up. It's just a few questions like your username, password, and then you will receive an email because you need to confirm your email. Once you receive, then you are in the dashboard. So, well, I can share my screen to show you a dashboard, but I don't think that's necessary. That's your dashboard. Very simple.
And looking from my perspective, since I'm on the team, things might look a little different. So I would prefer if somebody else did it, just because I don't want to mislead anybody on what they're saying.
Sure.
Majid, have you got access to the book at the moment through the dashboard?
Yeah, I did actually. I can
and share.
Yeah, just give me a second then. All right. So let me bring this here.
Steph, someone said some sections are not accessible. Would that be because they're using the free download, the original free download, which just gives you the first few sections of the book?
What do they mean accessible? You can't open it?
I assume that's what they mean. Not as in accessible for blind readers, I don't think.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah. So I can actually share my screen right now because I can show you. Here is the screen. Let's go for the whole window because it might be better.
Tabs normally a nicer way because you'll get without.
Yeah, I can. Well, okay. Let me just share the tab. Okay, Chrome tab, and here is my account. There you go. Yeah, so then once you actually get the email confirmation, so the email that you need to confirm your email, so then once you click on that, you will be redirected to this page. That's your dashboard. So then you'll have access to products, and this is the book that you will receive, hopefully. And then you can start reading right away. It's fairly simple, the dashboard that I mentioned. I can actually start reading if
well, it might be nice if you can open it up and just look at maybe the content of the book in a bit more detail.
And that might help me see. So the person who said things weren't accessible, then that might help me. I
need to then share my whole screen because then it opens up a new tab. So then let me just do that.
Yeah. You could just share that tab if you want.
Here we go. Yeah, so then when you click on this, then technically it will open up a new tab here. So you'll see the tab. And there is a button, then I can start.
Could you zoom in a bit, Majid?
Could you submit on the
size?
You can also scroll
Incre-
down there and there's additional information. If you scroll down on that first page, it also gives you like, these are what the chapters are and things like that too.
Yeah, sure. So you mean like if I click on, oh, sorry. So let's go back once more. Yeah, here you go. Is it big
Yeah,
enough
if you
now?
scroll down there,
Yeah, scroll down.
Here we go.
and that gives you what the chapters are.
Yes, sure.
Can you keep going just so I make sure everything says free?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me find out why those aren't
$100.
showing up. Hold on. I'm gonna go on mute and
Probably a caching problem. We're going to say we're going to blame it on the miraculous magical cache problem that always happens. But yes, for those that can't access these right now, you will be able to access them. Obviously, bugs first launch bugs, so you will be seeing those eventually. Anyway, there's quite a lot, to be honest. There's a lot we've got to get through.
Yeah, sure.
But I think
That's why it's going to be several weeks. But we're
Yes.
this is going to be going into December. Yeah, I don't know if we made it clear the scope of this. We're starting in October, and it's not going to be over until into December.
a while.
Yes.
Just a little
Every
while.
week.
So, okay.
Just right after I said we're probably going to go to every other week, we start a program where we're going to be here every week.
Yeah, sure.
I just
Since we have the team here, let's have a kudos to the team for creating this amazing book. So, Michael, Winsett, Kevin, I hope that I'm pronouncing. Maybe Estef, you should tell their name.
you're muted.
You're muted.
sorry.
Somebody has to do it once per episode.
Of
It's
course.
because I went on mute while I was typing. I sent a message to the team to find out about those other chapters. So, sorry, I forgot to turn off
The names. So we
Discord.
got
Wow.
Yeah.
Michael
Mike
Katz.
Katz, Vincent Go, Kevin D. Moore, not the Kevin Moore from the Google team, Vincenzo Guzzi, and me, Sandra. Oh, wow. I'm not going to
We'll say
attempt her
Sandra.
last
There you
name.
go.
Sandra. And Cesare was our final pass editor, who's listed there as Funky
Sure.
Boy.
So kudos to the team.
There's again, please, any Flutter or Dart related questions, put them in the chat. We'll be here to answer them.
In the spirit of that, and also on the subject of team, I do want to be clear about something. We can't tell you what the Flutter team's thoughts are on anything because none of us are on the Flutter team.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
We're Flutter
gonna, yeah.
community.
We can tell you the Flutter community's thoughts on this, which is awesome.
Yes.
To be honest, actually,
But we don't work for Google.
If you go watch the last stream, we had Kevin Moore. I don't know if you were here, Scott, for that. Were you here for that? No, I've lost track. Kevin Moore dropped by, and we actually went through the static metaprogramming repo information about in the repo and what they're working on. So, if you do want to look that up, it's the Dart Lang language repository that contains that information. I'm sure that we could probably dig that out. But yeah, what you're looking for, if you go hunting in this repo, I'll put it in the chat. If you go hunting in the repo, you'll find it on that location. I'll bring it up on stream as well for everyone else that's watching at home that might not see the chat. It's github.com/dart-lang/language, and that's where you find out about all the future language changes to Dart itself, proposals and such. And there's you can leave your comments in the different issue tickets, and there's a project board on there that shows you what's currently being worked on. So it's all worked open source, you know.
So, Majid, can you go back up to chapter 7?
Sure.
When you're scrolling.
May I ask a question before I go? So I see there is a version history here, which is amazing.
Yes.
So if I, let's say, buy this book online or just continue reading this book online. So then every time you upgrade something or add something to it, I will see that immediately, right? But I will
If you
not
do the
get
digital
that.
books, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
If-
Okay. But
If
if
you
I
buy
get
a
a hard
you
copy,
don't get an updated print book. But
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
It doesn't miraculously change in front of you. It's like, wow, they got an update.
But yes,
No, I
as
was
long as the
expecting
book
to
is-
see like a version and they were like version 2 of the book, so I can order again, something like that. So I was just asking if that's
you'll be
gonna
able
be.
to see
Do you know what I
the
really want to
different
see?
versions.
Okay.
And then as long as the book is still in production, then this will be updated, the online reader. And
Sure.
so all the digital ones are updated. Yes. So can you click on chapter 7? Because they said if you sign up through the Google app or Google like you did, you should be able to read it. So where it says 7 routes and navigation.
That's route.
Yes, click on the chapter 7. 7. No.
So here you go.
Yeah, click on that.
Yes, I can read that.
Okay, so what
doesn't
it
state
is, whoever wasn't able to link on it, you need to register through the Google link that's provided.
Yes.
If you could put that back up, then you'll be able to see it. So the other chapters that are listed as free, those are free to the world. But to get the book for free, you need to register via this way.
So that's
Good to know.
Mike's answer there.
Yeah.
Regarding questions, I'm sorry, just bouncing back to that because I'm trying to keep up also with the questions as well. Asking about a couple of other packages and official recommendations. Now, as far as official recommendations go, we're going to have to ask Chris on that. What you need to understand, though, real quick, is that Chris is a product manager on the Flutter team. I don't know if he's going to go around saying the Flutter team recommends his own package. That would probably not be taken very well.
So one of the things the Flutter team does, which I really like, is if you go to flutter.dev and there's like a page on state management, for example, they list all the different state management packages, right? The same goes for, as you said, for here, they recommend all of these different routing options, and you get to choose one.
They're pretty clear. They list them. They don't recommend them. Well, sorry.
Yeah. But my point is that here's a set that you can that are suggested to choose from, but you need to. There's no official recommendation, and to be honest, I wouldn't accept an official recommendation. Do what's right for your app, right? Like, go evaluate each one yourself and see what fits the best.
Exactly.
Okay. Sorry, we were talking about Chapter 7, Navigator 2.
Yeah, that's all working. So that's great. We were just using that as an example because it's one of the original paid chapters. It's definitely free. You can definitely access it. If you
send smoke signals, you're muted.
Yeah.
That's why I should just whatever. I just let the team know that they're able to get it now. I'm writing them in real time and thanking them for responding in real time.
So do you know what I was just thinking? I wonder if in the future we're going to see books on e-ink, like the way that you the whole sort of tablet notion, right, of having that kind of device form factor, which is like a book or whatever, right? Like, I do wonder if it would be interesting if books will be sold as like e-ink, an e-ink piece of paper where you can like a tablet, right? But like you're buying that digital. I don't know. I'm just thinking like you're buying that digital form factor of a book, so you get the updates. Is what I'm trying to get at, right? So, but I suppose you can just get ebook reader, and then you've got the digital version. Do you know if you do downloads of EPUB format? Ain't it? Yay! So
that's chapter 1, and that's this second.
Is that PDF or EPUB? Or
this is EPUB. There are other options for purchasing, and it's on that link that you can get. This is an EPUB.
So the online version, access to the website is free, but then if you want it on EPUB or PDF, you have to do the purchase.
Right. Paper, PDF, EPUB. Yep, you need to purchase it. The online reader is available, and it works on tablets and phones and all of that. But you just have to be online for that part. That's the part of the free Google thing. Offer. Gift.
So for those that might have missed the beginning, Flutter is giving away the Flutter Apprentice book by Ray Wenderlich. And you can go to flutter.dev/apprentice-giveaway to download your copy now, or, well, access it online now. So what have we got in the comments? Do we have any other questions?
Let me see.
Oh, there
here.
is a question.
I'm gonna go on.
Oh, sorry.
Let's find the questions and bring them up on stream. Otherwise, we'll be here for a while. Do you want me to take this, Scott?
Sure, go right ahead.
Oh, you mean that's what I want. Animated newspapers like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. That's what I want.
Simon, you get on that right away.
Right, I'm on it.
Yeah.
I get me Raspberry Pi out and we'll be away. Yeah, definitely amazing. It's really interesting that we've seen just across the board. We've got people, graphic designers, people that have never done programming before, people that are coming from web, all sorts of different backgrounds, all coming into Flutter and using that to build mobile apps. It's really been an impressive change. Here's a question for you, Steph. If you buy an actual book, do you get access to the online version, or at least future updates online?
You do get the future updates.
Is that only if you buy through Ray Wenderlich, or do you have to, if you buy it through Amazon, will they get access to it? If you don't know, ask the team.
That question. Let me
Quick,
go
ask
and
the team. Ask the team. Right.
I'm gonna go ask the team. But I do know if you buy, if you've got so another thing for people to understand is there are subscription bases that you can get at raywenderlich.com, and you can get a beginner, and then there's a pro version. You get access to all of the books with the pro version online. You have all of that, not just the books. There's video trainings and all of that. So there are different options, but specifically for this Flutter one, if there's an update or anything like that, yes, especially if you're doing it through the Google after it's ended, you would need to purchase it, but you would see updates on the website. Let me go ask the other question.
Let's see what else we got here. Oh, then this is brilliant. Bruno, absolutely amazing. Studying Flutter for about 3 months. Will publish my first personal portfolio app this week. Will help me get a job as a mobile developer. Love Flutter.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Wait, Bruno, you're not working?
Right.
There are so many recruiters right now trying to find Flutter developers who are not working.
Yeah.
So you will have a job soon, I'm sure.
I was going to say, and that's a really good example there of a first-time Flutter app. Do a portfolio app of your previous stuff that you worked on. There you go. You can show that you can build an app and all the apps that you've worked on, or all the side projects that you've made. That's a brilliant example.
Okay.
One thing actually, and then personal experience, like we onboarded a couple of our designers, who are designing for our app, and in just few sessions, they are not coder, and I'm not expecting them to write a good code in Flutter, right? But Flutter happens to make them like coders. So now instead of like just design what they want to do, they also can prototype real time in Flutter. So like they use other some tools, for example, Figma, or the Adobe ones, where there are also some plugins. Yeah, they can also migrate, but they also learned when they migrate these widgets to Flutter. So most of the work is done by those widgets, but they can also adjust and add some minor modifications to that Flutter app. And instead of just, this is very funny because sometimes they, instead of sending us like a link to the mockup and it's just some pictures, and they just send us an app. Say, hey, okay, just go ahead and install this APK, and then you'll see the whole app. And that's the power of Flutter. What do I want to say is that like it can help onboard anyone. You don't need to be a coder, even a designer.
Yeah.
As simple as this.
one of the interesting things that I've seen from designers on the projects I've worked on has been just giving them the what's the word? Yes, the sort of the flag that says yes, you can do this, and saying, yeah, you've got a like, fancy little animation, you want to do this panel, you want to have some interaction, yes, you can do that. You know, yes, we can do that in Flutter, and yes, it works on both platforms exactly the same way that you expect it to work, right? Like that's another powerful thing that I think is a bit different. Go on, Steph.
Okay, the answer to the question, if you want to pull it back up.
Which one?
Sorry, Scott.
Hang on.
No, we're fine. Is that's the one about
this one?
Simon. Simon and I are fighting.
If you buy the actual book, if you buy the actual book through raywenderlich.com, you don't get access to the online version, but you can contact the support team, and you'll get a discount on the online version.
There you go.
And one other thing real quick, if that's your feeling on it, then you should know that behind the scenes what's going on is Google is subsidizing this. Yeah. Ray Wenderlich is being taken care of. It's just not coming out of your pocket.
So it's free to you, not free.
Yes.
Yeah. So does Flutter Apprentice cover about UI and UX? And yeah, I'd say it covers the basics, right? Like you have the widget chapters that cover those sort of basic premises, but UI is one thing, right? UI is about what widgets to use where for what reasons, right? Where UX is about experience, and experience is a lot more than what you could cover in an individual chapter in a book, right? That's what you learn from building Flutter apps for some time. So you have to imagine that, like here's a good example of this. The X button, right? If you put the X button on the top left, it gets less taps than it's on the top right. When it's on the top right, people expect to see it there and to close whatever they have open. That's just an ingrained thing that we've had for years because of Windows and other operating systems put the close button on the top right, right? So there's that kind of mental picture that people have of, oh, if I want to get rid of what's on the screen, I press the X button, right? You don't have to explain that means close. You don't have to explain anything. You just put the X button in the top right, and that's what everyone understands it to be. That's user experience. The actual X button itself is the UI, but the experience is where you place it, for what reason you're placing it. And then on top of that, any accessibility and other things that come from it. So yeah, it covers some of the basics, and it's only good. It's a beginner book, but what you're going to get from that user experience is more about learning about mobile user experience. There's plenty of books talking about mobile user experience. Also from the design perspective, if you're looking about UX, go read up about design, and you'll find a lot more about UX behaviors and what a good practical reason to do certain things. Does anyone else have any comments on those 2 points? Sorry, I kind of went off on one.
Oh, right to the point. I agree.
Let's have a look. Working on Flutter Web for developing an OTT platform. OTT? One-time... No, it's not one-time password. It's OTP. I don't know what OTT. Over the top?
Over the
currently got stuck in my my movie videos properly on Chrome and not Safari. Can you give any tips? Okay, so I can tell you what you're probably running into here. Now I'm just saying probably. I don't know for certain, but the tip I would suggest you do is try encoding your video with QuickTime. So different So if you go look up the video tag in browser support all across the standard web, you go look up web developer video tag HTML, and you'll find that there's some couple of tables you'll find, I think probably on Mozilla or somewhere, where it talks about what source types are accessible for what browsers. So not all browsers can play, let's say, a Vorbis OGG media file. That's only supported by Mozilla and Chrome. Not supported by Safari. And the same goes for certain MP4 codecs. They're not supported by all of the platforms. So I would suggest that you go look up and see if you can work out if the codec is right for Safari, and that might explain why your videos are not working properly. That's what I mean. You could always just record a quick MOV file if you're on a Mac, and then try and use that as your source material and see if it plays. which you should assume it should play. And if it does play, then you've not got a problem with media playback, but rather the encoding of your current media that you're trying to play back. Does the book include testing the app and suggesting architecture for organizing the code? Steph?
We don't have testing in it yet. It was something that was in scope, but because of the rush to get this version out, there is sections on architecture. Sorry, I need to cough. And I will pull it up right now to get there's but yeah, there is architecture organizing, and it's mentioned in the code.
And the best thing I can say about that is go right now. Go to the I'm going to say it again. Go straight to flutter.dev/apprentice-giveaway, and you can go sign up and download the book and go check it out for yourself. What else do we have in our comments here? Any more questions? Let's see. Is there any way to play video on Flutter Desktop? As far as I'm aware, there's currently the video player plugin does not support this. However, I'm pretty sure support will be coming. Each platform does it differently, right? So it's one of these platform dependent systems that requires work on each implementation, and video is tough. Video and audio is not simple. They're streaming data and having it effectively not buffer and be performant is a tough problem. So please be patient. But if you want it on desktop yourself, go read up about how, let's say you're doing a Windows app or you're doing a Mac app, go read up about how you play video on Mac. You can make a simple Flutter plugin for your desktop app that just does that one task that you wanted to play the video, for example. So don't wait for the Flutter team to do this. Like, the Flutter team has a limited number of hands, right? The community is here for a reason. We can help the Flutter team produce these plugins. And if you're working on that, go ahead, like, submit a PR back to the team. I'm sure they'll be interested in it, and or comment on the issue ticket that's related to this, or raise an issue ticket on the plugins repository. And if you get an answer back saying, we're happy to accept contributions to support Mac video playback, great, do it, help them out. Or alternatively, make that question and place that question straight to the team on the GitHub issue tickets, and the person that's appropriate for the Flutter plugin will get back to you, and with the project manager, not project manager, product owner of the plugin will get back to you and let you know if it's in the pipeline or not.
All right, I got a couple of quick ones here. Chris has arrived, so for one here, a couple of Flutter interviews. Large companies a lot of times are expecting that, but not all companies. Just keep talking to companies, keep talking to people. You will break in, I am sure. This one right here, a good resource to learn for testing. There happen to be some people at a company who are something of testing fanatics, and that is VGV. The testing fanatics at VGV have put together a course, and believe me, if anybody can get you up to speed on testing, it's going to be Jorge. So I will put this link in the chat right now. But it is VGV's course on the fundamentals of testing. There is a question about service worker, but I'm afraid that might be a little vague at the moment.
I'm gonna quickly cover that service worker one just very briefly.
Okay, let me pull that up here.
The service worker what a service worker is it runs in the background on your web page, and it caches the JavaScript and keeps it, like, it helps speed things up and run things. It's like an ongoing process for your website. It also caches it, meaning that if you update your page, it doesn't always update the service worker, so you need to control refresh. And if you're in Chrome, you can open up like the dev tools, and there's a bit for application. I think there's a tab called application where you can clear the service worker accounts and upgrade it. So that's probably what you need to do manually. If you want to run your Flutter app in development mode and not worry about caching problems with the service worker, there's a line, there's a JavaScript line which pulls in the service worker in the index.html file that's generated with your Flutter project, remove that line, and it will just pull in the normal main.js file that's generated, and it will just work like normal. And you're not using the service worker at that point. So, but yeah, definitely have the service worker for release. So there is also, I believe, there's a couple of packages that I know I worked on one a long time ago, but there's a couple of packages around that help with updates. So it'll pop up on, that I don't even see it on websites. Let's say you go to maybe Twitter or something, it might say, oh, there's an update for Twitter, press yes, and you'll refresh the browser and you get the latest version of Twitter or whatever. That's the kind of thing that you can do with service worker. Anyway,
now, I am using my superpowers here. There is a Spirit, and it is telling me that there's a video player coming for Windows, and also that the service worker in the latest build is greatly improved. Now, if I could just make the Spirit appear, so that, well, you can see him. Chris.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good.
Hi, Chris.
Did you manage to watch the announcement video?
I'm sorry. I've been busy all morning.
No, it's fine.
I want to hear
could you play
what
it?
was announced.
We could play it again briefly if you want, I guess.
I think you could play it again through the first two, like through.
The frightening thing, I think,
and-
is that Chris is probably not kidding because he's so busy with the business end, he might not be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty aware, but I did not. I have not yet seen the video for sure.
Let's see if I can get this to come up. Bear with me 1 second. Right, your microphones are going to be on throughout the video.
Already looking.
Yes.
I'm just going to let you know your microphone's going to be on throughout the video.
Okay. I'm Tim Sneath, and I'm the Director of Product Management for Flutter and Dart here at Google. So we're really excited to announce a new partnership with Ray Wenderlich, the team behind what we think is an exceptional learning resource, and that's the book Flutter Apprentice. And we're giving away the Flutter Apprentice book to you to read, to learn Flutter over the next 3 months. We really like this book because it takes you on a journey from Hello World, or in Flutter's case, the counter app, all the way to building a fully featured app. And along the way, you'll get a grand tour of key parts of the framework. It's full of practical and update examples. It includes code labs, and it's written with Flutter 2.5 in mind. So we think you'll really like it. And to help you make your way through the book, we're also co-producing a book club with the Flutter community. So each week, our newest Flutter DevRel team member, Craig Lebenz, will take you through key concepts from a couple of chapters. You'll also have the opportunity to ask questions about those chapters live to Craig, to the authors of the book, and to other panel guests. We hope the book club will keep you excited and reading through the end. And it's worth making it to the end, where, spoiler alert, you'll learn how to deploy your apps to iOS and Android. So please join us every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, on the Flutter Community YouTube channel. See you there.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, I'm Craig Lebenz from the Flutter team. Each week, you're going to get a reading assignment, and then the following week, we'll cover all the concepts together. I'll also be live coding a sample app that will build up over the next 10 weeks, applying the concepts from the book as we go. I'm not going to code the whole thing live on air, that's way too boring, but the full repository will be made available. We hope that you'll code along with us, applying the same concepts, but using your own app design with a theme that interests you. This is one of the best ways to learn. For the next week, your reading assignment is chapters 1 and 2. In our first episode, we're going to walk through those chapters and talk about how you can get going with your own app that you're going to create along with us. And now, take it away, Stephanie.
And we have our Stephanie right here. I've muted everyone. Sorry, I didn't want any feedback during the thing. So you have to unmute your own microphones.
There we go. So, okay, we are 10 minutes into Chris's segment.
Yes,
so
let's not waste
talk
this
about
time.
Chris.
Chris, I hear there's been quite a rampage of people using your package now.
Yes.
Actually, yeah. I mean, it's been a little more than a week, and when I worked on it kind of in obscurity for like 4 months before I told anyone about it, and it had 7 likes. And about a week ago, I put it up on Twitter, and it's now up to 143, which is craziness. And the stream of feedback on Reddit and Twitter and on the repo itself has been great and surprising, actually.
Awesome. So why is this a little bit different approach? What was it that you wanted to accomplish with this that you weren't seeing elsewhere?
Well, backing up to what the hell it is in the first place, the Go router is a custom router for the Flutter Router API, or what has previously been called the Navigation 2 API. And the router API has its own constructor, material.router or material app.router, Cupertino app.router. And what it does is it allows you to pass in a delegate and then an information parser, a couple of objects that kind of imply a third type that represents the state of your app. And essentially what it does is it lets you have a great deal of control over the navigation process. So, client walks into or a customer walks into a bar, end user with a location they want to go in their app. Maybe they click on a button in your app. Maybe they're using deep linking via Android or iOS. Maybe they've typed a URL into the address bar of your browser. Any of those ways is a way to generate a route that can be managed by the routing system. And when that happens, your custom delegate, your custom information parser gets a hold of that route, and then it's kind of a 2-phase process. Based on that route, your app can decide what the state is of your app, right? Where in the app they are, what stack of pages you would like that route to represent, whatever app state you want to set in your app. That's kind of phase 1. And then phase 2 is, okay, now hand me the navigator with the list of pages and a function that knows how to implement the back button, essentially. And so those are the core concepts. However, the actual code you need to do it is quite a lot. Hundreds of lines of code. I guess you could probably get away with a pretty bare bones implementation in a couple of 100 lines of code, but it's tricky, and it's easy to get wrong. And we've had that feedback on the Flutter team. We've had a lot of feedback on the Flutter team saying the Navigation 2 API, while being super capable, and it certainly is, especially compared to the previous Navigation API, but it's also hard to get right, and there's a lot of code involved. And so over the last 6 to 12 months after we released this API, the community has risen up and said, hey, how do I, what's the right thing to do? How do I make this work? And then a dedicated group of folks have actually dug in, understood the API, and then built what we call custom routers. And these are packages that allow you to define how routing should work in your app in various ways using various data structures that they define. And you can essentially use these custom router as the implementation of the delegate and the information parser that you pass to the Material app and the Cupertino app to simplify your implementation. And there's a number, there's probably a dozen or more of these just, popular ones, and even more, in the long tail. And I have a little side project. I have a little app, a real world app that I build that has to work across multiple platforms in Flutter. And, evenings and weekends I spend coding. And I started myself on this journey almost a year ago. There's a blog post on my blog talking about deep linking and understanding Flutter. And it's like a 25-page blog post where I dig through, and this was all Navigation 1 stuff, right? This is all the previous generation. And I I had a set of scenarios and I wanted to make it all work. And I came up with a set of code and some patterns that, look hilariously archaic now compared to this new thing I've come up with over the last few months called the Go router. And the Go router is my own Navigation 2 based routing implementation. Because I looked at the set that there were, and all of them had really great stuff in them, right? And some of them had, APIs that I liked, but other ones that I didn't. Some of them had docs that I liked, but maybe not docs on the customization or the features I wanted. A lot of them had great APIs, but almost no docs. It just wasn't. I mean, I looked at it from 2 points of view. One, I have a real world app and I need this thing handled, right? Navigation, just to be clear, navigation is hard in any UI framework, especially ones that have to deal with the web, because the web has one very important characteristic that no other platform has, which is the users can just type whatever they want to, right? And you have to deal with it. Your app has to deal with it in a sane, intelligent way, right? You don't have this on Android. We don't have this on desktop, right? But we have it on the web. People can just type random things, right? And so you have to make sure your app is secure in the face of that it is robust in the face of that, right? That it handles just any random string of characters that they provide. But the web also provides this wonderful thing, which is it's easy to take one of those links and share it, right? And so you have to support dynamic linking. You have to support deep linking, right? You really want to support that. And of course, those links on a mobile system could wake up in the mobile version of your app instead of the web version of your app. You want to make sure the routing is the same for both. There's all these characteristics you want from a routing system in general, and then it's even harder because you want it to be general purpose across all those platforms, and you want the same links on the web to show up as an Android intent in your app and navigate to the exact same place, right? So that's what Navigation 2 enables. That level of abstraction is actually amazing, the capability that it enables. It's just there's a lot of flexibility and it's pretty hard. And so Go Router was just me kind of pouring all of my hopes and dreams into the API that I personally liked. It wasn't built for anyone else. It was just for me, the one I liked the most. And then a set of documentation that described how to use all this stuff in case anyone else wanted to use it and they wanted to have some insight in terms of why did Chris build it this way? What was he thinking? How does this meant to be used? And then a bunch of samples to make sure that I actually built the thing that I meant to, and that the code comes across in a way that I find to be pleasant. Really, that's it. The way I design APIs, and I've done this for an embarrassingly long time, is I start with, here's the code I wish I could type. Can somebody please make that happen, right? That's really how I do it. And then I just go and implement, okay, what do I need? What data types, what algorithms, whatever, right? What do I need to take that code that you've written and make it actually work? And really, that's all Go Router is.
I was saying before you came on stream that I was saying that the way that a lot of people do these packages, they cover the bit that they want, right? As an open source package, you do what you want to, you write what you want. And it just so happens that the package that you've written here, I feel like covers this, like what others have done and some more in my preference here. That there's this, but then it's got this, and this all in one, rather than having to use like a deep link package here and this package there and a router package here.
Yeah, so I was really wearing two hats. I mean, hat number one was, here's the stuff I need for my own app, right? And just getting that done, just the basics done in a robust way to handle the edge cases and et cetera. Even that was like 80% of the code and 80% of the scenarios, because my app does a bunch of things it wants to do a bunch of things.
No sucking up to the boss, Craig.
Here's the other hat I have on. It turns out I'm the PM on the Flutter team responsible for the end-to-end developer experience. So I really wanted, I mean, to me, I poured everything I knew about Flutter Navigation first into that blog post a year ago, and now into the README and samples and API for Go.
It's pretty good.
Because to me, it's less, a specific. I mean, it is a package. You can drop it in your app, and there's samples and go crazy if that's what you want to do. But to me, it's more of like an SDK. It's right, all the things you really need to know. Like one little corner case is, hey, you want to turn off the hashtag, thing in Flutter. I like it. I think it's cool. I think it means, hey, this is a Flutter app on the web. That's cool. But if you want to turn it off, you can. And we have documentation on the website on how to do that. But there's a lot going on. There's conditional imports, and you have to write multiple implementations of the same blah, blah, blah. And I boiled all that down to, a property in the Go router with the default value. If you don't like that default value, you change it, and it does all that code for you, right? It just handles it for you. That kind of thing. And then once you've done that, hey, you want to test it. Well, you can test it, but you have to set up URL forwarding and both locally if you want to test it, or remotely when you send it out into the world. Otherwise, you won't be able to handle 404 errors. Right? There's just this set of things you have to do to make it actually work for realsy. And I just poured all of that into the docs because I knew I'd never remember it, and I thought it might be useful for other people. I knew it would be useful for myself. Anyway, so I got like 80% through the API for the stuff I needed in my own app. I'm like, yeah, but that's not enough. That's enough for my app, but it's not enough as the PM for the Flutter developer experience. So I picked up John Ryan's navigation and routing sample in the SDK. And he does all the things, right? He does nested navigation, and he does custom transitions, and pushing, and the whole thing. He does all the things in that sample. And that sample is a really good kind of indicator of the kind of thing you would need to do in the real world if you wanted that behavior, using the raw API. And so I had a great deal of fun with his API or with his app, and I just threw away a bunch of code. I put in Go router, and I just threw away a bunch of the code. And until I could do everything that his app could do in the Go router, I wasn't done, right? Custom transitions and nested navigation and all the wonderful things he's got in his app pushing. The last feature I implemented was push. Until I was done with that sample in the Go router, I wasn't done. And along the way, and that's what I did on the way to 1.0. And then after 1.0, I just shipped it a week ago, I have learned about all kinds of stuff, the navigation, that I didn't even know about, because I've had this fabulous community response. I've already had a bunch of contributors give me pull requests to set up CI/CD and to fix a bunch of my grammar and code docs. And I've had somebody say feature requests that I didn't even know we had that I went and implemented, and that simplified my own implementation. And I have learned a bunch of stuff about navigation even after publishing, and then I just roll that all in to the Go router with updated samples or updated implementation or features, and then that makes me smarter, and it captures it all in one place.
Sorry, I was starting a quick message about the Flutter Apprentice stuff. One of the things I was looking at the documentation just now, just thinking it mentions deep linking, and I was thinking actually an improvement to the documentation might be to mention push, right? Push notifications, because I think it's closely related to deep linking, but for a beginner, it may not be apparent that a push notification can instantiate or start a deep link, right? And that sort of tie-in might be helpful.
I agree, and in fact, of course, navigation affects your architecture of your app. It affects, well, for example, one of the things I added, feature in GoRouter to make this work or not work. It just works because it's Flutter. Was async communication, and with async communication, I wanted to show, hey, here's how you do it, right? I mean, most of the samples are, I have the data right here, I pass it to the page,
Yeah.
go. But I wanted to show people, hey, if you have data that you're pulling from the network as part of your routing, here's one pattern that you can use, and it just uses all of Flutter with the GoRouter. The GoRouter doesn't have any specific feature to handle that because it doesn't need to.
It's actually, I think it was last week. If you go watch the Humpday Q&A from last week, we actually did look at the README and we went through a bunch of it, and we did speak a bit about the actual async bit. It's quite common to have that case where you want to direct someone to something based on ID or some unique identifier, and then you're going to need to do the asynchronous communication to go fetch the content for that unique identifier.
That's right.
So yeah, there's definitely it's kind of interesting because there's definitely something you want to do there, and from an architectural standpoint, you've got this. So from a web, let me just come at this from two angles. So from an app standpoint, you open up the screen, you show a loading spinner, you're doing that asynchronous communication, you show the content after it's loaded on error, right? On a web, because it's done at the URL request level, it's handled during the natural navigation, and then you're getting back at 404 if that content doesn't exist, for example, right?
Totally.
So with the routing in Flutter, the 404 is when it can't find a route that matches. So it's I'm just trying to give an example of how that sort of experience, the user experience, changes between the two platforms. I guess you would need to have asynchronous lookup of a route to support the first, which is to return back essentially a different screen saying a 404.
The example I show in the docs, essentially, it shows a page that's wrapped in a future builder.
Yeah,
it shows the progress indicator. It shows the error. It shows the error page if there's an error, or it shows once it has the data, then it hands it off to create the real page, right? So that's one mechanism, and it allows you to do the 404, and it's all part of normal Flutter, and you get to show a progress dialog along the way, which is important, right? You let people know you're looking something up. The other way to do it is just to take the IDs and hand them to the page, and then the nice thing about that is you can show the wrapper for the page, right? The app bar, status bar, whatever the Chrome is for the specific page, and then you could give a little helpful message. Hey, I'm looking up X, Y, and Z, and then you can do that in the context of the page. Both are fully supported by GoRouter, just because of the wonder and beauty that is Flutter, right? One of the goals with the GoRouter was, hey, I don't want to re-implement a bunch of the concepts in Flutter. I want to do the least. I'm lazy. I want to do the least possible thing I can do to enable navigation and routing, but to let Flutter be Flutter. As an example, in nested navigation, the idea of nested navigation is you actually are able to nest into a specific state of a page. For example, if you've got, the classic example is I've got a tab view with multiple tabs. You can navigate, and the route, right, the location in the address bar changes as you press on the tabs, but you're on the same page the whole time, right? You don't transition off the page and on the page or fade in and out. You're on the same page at the same time, but the link in the address bar changes, and that's important if you want to take that and copy it and share it and do deep linking and blah blah blah. But you want the right user experience. Turns out that's just a pattern in GoRouter. There's nothing special you have to implement in GoRouter to make nested navigation work at all. You just use the right set of keys, which GoRouter helps generate. And
does that mean you can nest sorry, I'm trying to understand the concept here, because from what I remember when I studied the Navigator 2 stuff, when I did my talks, you can have nested routers, right? So you have one router.
You absolutely can. Does that
work with GoRouter?
Feature of Navigation 2. GoRouter doesn't use any of that. Doesn't need to.
Does its own thing separate from that. Okay.
Flutter makes. I haven't yet found a use case where I actually need to use that, so I don't.
Fair enough. I'm going to quickly bring up a couple of questions that we've had come in. I to be honest with you, so someone's asked, does it have guards like in Angular, route guards?
Yeah. So
I've never used Angular, so please.
Oh, right. Yeah. So the way Angular works, of course, Angular has navigation, and React has navigation, and Vue has navigation, and and Android has navigation. Everyone has navigation. This is a thing that has to be solved for every UI toolkit ever, especially the ones that start touching the web, like Angular. The idea with guards in Angular, it's an object that you can drop in, or a function that allows you to say, hey, as I navigate to this route, call this function, is it okay to go to this route, or do I need to go to some other route instead? So the classic example is, I'm going to the admin page on my website, but I'm not logged in yet, right? So you need to redirect them to the login page. And that's what a guard does. And a really good guard allows you to capture where they were coming from. So once you did a login, then it would redirect you back to whatever the pages you were on your way to. And so that's one big scenario, right? It's based on app state, right? So you want this top level, logic that says, hey, no matter where they're going, if they're not logged in, send them to the login page, right? That's one scenario. Another scenario is forwarding. I want to, if somebody comes to this route, I actually want to send them to another route. Just blindly, right? Bundle up the parameters, send it to this new route every single time, right? And that's useful for as your app evolves over time and you rearrange the structures. You want all the old links in the world to keep working, or even all the old links in your app. You don't want to have to go and change your whole app, right? When you redo the structure, you want all those old things to keep working until you refactor things. In which case, it just blindly forwards and it works. And so the other thing that you want to have happen is, if you're forwarding from one page that is really just a forward to another page, which itself is a forward to another, right? You want these things to, keep going. Otherwise, it goes to the next one, and then you
does that resolve in your router before it actually navigates?
Yes. So what happens in the Go router is, the Go router supports a redirect function, which is a guard, the essential functionality of a guard at the top level, and it does it at the page level. And so you can actually do multiple of them. The Go router will keep calling redirects until the redirect function says, no, I'm done. That's where I want you to be. Stop calling me. And it returns null. And then that can go back and forth between the top level router and the page router. And it just keeps calling in a loop until you're done. It doesn't navigate anywhere until it finds where you actually want to go. And then it builds the stack of pages for that route. Now, the danger, so the flexibility is, you get, big apps can change over time, and, all of that is fine. And it works the way a website would work.
One of the classic things you do on a website is to make that, like the web server has the HT access file or whatever it is, where you say redirect from this URL to this URL, and it's done before it even makes a request to the software.
That's right. And that's exactly what's going on in the Go router. But one of the dangers is, you actually do this in a loop, right? You accidentally coded it up. So you just start, redirecting in a big loop. So the Go router, so when I try to write my code, I try to write it as if I'm going to just forget. Right. And I detect these things. And so a bunch of the code in the Go router, or in any package I write, is, watch out for this. And if this happens, throw an exception so you can figure it out. And, and so in the Go router, if you do a loop, it'll tell you, and it'll tell you the set of routes you went through, and you can go through your code. Oh, I see. Right.
One of the nice things about Flutter is the nice error messages. So I think like having that capability of doing that detection and giving them the routes that we're like looping between is phenomenal. It's one of the best things about Flutter actually in general, is just that
I agree.
that you get like those like, this is the widget that caused your problem. It's like, brilliant, thanks. And I'm gonna go there.
Right.
I don't have to kind of like go through and try and find it, right?
So two things more I'll say about one thing more I'll say about the guard, and then one more thing I'll say about error handling. The guard code in the Go router, it does all that stuff. It does all the redirection, etc. And of course it's going to be based at the top level for sure. It's likely to be based on some app state, right? Am I logged in or not? Am I in the middle of a splash screen? What am I doing in my app? Where should I go? But you also want, as the state of your app changes, for example, you logged out, or you lost the connection, and the whatever library whatever auth has logged you out automatically, or whatever, right? In that case, what you want is the router to know about that state so that it can recalculate. Okay, here's where the user is right now. Is that where we want to keep them, or do we want to redirect them back to the login page, etc.? And so the Go router allows you to pass in a listenable, so that when your app state changes in that way, it'll recalculate all the redirect for you, and based on where you are right now.
I was going to say that's one of the powers of Navigator too, right? The idea that it's declarative UI. In other words, your app state drives the UI stack, right? The navigation stack. Sorry. So I think that's
So that's a handy feature, and they almost always.
So am I thinking this right? So let's say we have a state change that the user gets logged out, then that's going to recalculate the UI stack. Then that will then affect the guards. So then that would potentially redirect them to the login screen of their app.
That's right. And it all happens automatically. All you have to do is pass.
That's always one. I'm telling you how many beginner questions I've seen about this one. How do I do that kind of like log in, log out, and how do I handle it? It's totally one of the underestimated sort of beginner things that are problematic.
So I built all of that into the Go router. And then on the other side, on the error handling side, when I got into larger apps with, deeper, sets of routes and nested routing, and etc., I was losing track of it in my head, because when you declare it and you do nested routes, you do kind of route fragments, right? If you get this far, you get this page, and then if you keep going, you get this page. And then I also added in the support for named pages. And so just having an idea of what the Go router thinks all the routes are and what the names are and how it all maps. So I added a diagnostics flag. So if you just want to pass in a diagnostics flag, you can say, tell me what the Go router thinks. And it'll dump the table of all the routes.
I think I saw that at the bottom of the documentation. Yeah, you kind of got like a printout of all the.
That's right, and how they nest, and then it'll show all the name mappings to all the routes. And then as you route around in your app, it'll tell you what it's doing and what it's thinking. It's like, okay, I'm going here. Oh, I got to redirect here. Oh, I got to redirect here. Oh, I just found a loop. Dumps that out.
Can you turn that off? That debug.
But it's off by default. You have to turn it on. You have to turn it on.
Okay.
But it's helpful when you're debugging all that.
Speaking of how to use it,
I'll be back.
All right. Chris, speaking of how to use it, and this has been mentioned before, but really, how many packages do you see with a table of contents like a book that walks you through each thing that you might need to know?
That blew me away. I loved it.
That's one of the biggest things that I've heard people talk about. Chris, I don't know if you're in a position where you can share your screen and walk people through some of this, or let me get my screen down.
Actually, why don't you leave your screen up and I'll just direct it through it. That way I'm not scrolling too fast or talking too fast.
Okay, actually, I was going to use the opportunity to put you on screen and go take care of the dog before she starts making noise.
Fine. I'll do it.
And I'm gonna go off, so Chris is the only one there.
Sure, I'm happy to talk into the ether with nobody.
No, it's okay. I'll just sit here and nod and smile.
I appreciate it. Hang on, let me set this up here.
I figure the best person to walk through is you. I mean, you wrote this.
So let's see if this works.
Is there any way to make a default route that is not a backslash or a forward slash? I guess you could specify it to be whatever you want, but I don't know why you would want to.
I can't tell. Can you see my screen? I don't know what's going on.
No, I need to put your screen up. There we go.
Are you seeing the Go router?
Yep. Okay, and I'm going to step away.
Sure. Okay, so I mean the basics of routing are just this. The Go router is a declarative router, and essentially you create a router and you pass in a set of routes. And here I've got two top-level routes. One that is the homepage, and when you navigate to the homepage, you create a material page with your actual content in here, and you pass in some key. The underlying navigation tool requires you to have keys, and the reason they have keys is because you're building, a stack of pages, and those keys are how the underlying router implementation knows, okay, this one is separate from this one. And if I rebuild that stack of pages, but the key is the same, then we reuse the same page and all the data. We don't have to rebuild it. It's important for efficiency and the user experience for the end user. So that what I do here, it turns out to be hard to create these unique keys in certain dynamic situations. And so Flutter Go Router just builds those for you. You can use those keys. You can not use those keys. That's up to you. But if you want to, they're handy. And so I've got two top-level routes. And as I go from page to page, route to route, I'm building a stack of exactly one page. There's no, for example, if you put up the app bar, there's no back button. So that's a set of declarative routes. The page builder gets this state, and the state has all kinds of useful information in it, including this page key, which I talked about, and I can talk about more useful information that's in the state as you do some routing. This is just some examples if you're curious. The other thing you need to create a router is an error page builder. And the error page builder is used in a couple of places. One place it's used is 404. I went through with the navigation string. I went through the whole set of routes. I couldn't find a match. 404, page not found. I'll call this function, get that page, and show that instead of whatever page or set of pages I would normally show. The other place that's super handy is if your page builder throws an exception, right? I found the route, I found the right page, but in creating the actual pages, there was an exception. For example, I looked up some data by ID that's passed in the location, and I couldn't find it. So you just throw an exception, I'll catch it, and I'll show the error page. And then you can create whatever error page you want, however you want to manage it, and I'll pass in the exception that was thrown, that you threw. All right. And then once you have that, that's all you need, the set of declarative routes and an error page builder. And then you just call material app.router and you pass in these two pieces of information. And those are the pieces that the underlying router needs and that Go router implements. And to make it super easy, I just expose those as properties. You just pass them to the constructor, and that's how all the routing is set up. And then once you've got the routing set up, you get to navigate between pages. And you can do that in a couple of ways. One is you can reach up into context. The Go router is in your widget tree, and you can say, just find me the Go router of, and then once I have it, I can say, here's the route I want to go to. I'm on the home page. I want to go to page 2. Great. I'm lazy, so I built the extension method. If you bring in the Go router into wherever you want, into your Dart files where you want to do this, you can say context.go, and I built an extension method on context that does navigation. And then also, if you happen to be using a link widget, it's fully support there. The cool thing about a link widget is you can show a link in your app and you can pass it in a URI. And when the user pushes on a link, they get this follow link button or this follow link function. And the link is cool because what it'll do is it'll say, hey, if there's a top level scheme like HTTPS, blah, 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 it will just use the URL launcher and launch the external page. But if the link happens to be relative, it doesn't, it's, like it's schemeless, right? It starts like this without, HTTPS, etc. Then it will use the internal navigation system to do the routing, which I think is pretty cool. And GoRouter fully supports this as well. There's another thing you can do too called named routes, where you can actually give your routes names. Like here, I've got a slightly more complicated set of routes, and each one has a name, and they all have a URL pattern, that you can hard code into your app, or you can just do it by name and pass in the arguments. And GoRouter knows how to build the URL and navigate to the right place, which gives you a level of abstraction as you build your app. You can just say, just go to the person page, just go to the login page, just go to the home page. Here are the parameters. I don't care what the location looks like. You figure it out. GoRouter handles that case as well.
Chris, may I interject for a second? That's where you were talking about in your tweet that you had the poll asking about
yes.
the params. Yeah, okay.
Yes, that's a good,
in case people saw it and they weren't quite sure because I haven't looked at the details yet.
Yeah, that's a good segue, actually. So here's the debate. So we have this idea in routing to be able to support dynamic linking. The idea of dynamic linking is essentially every object that you want to be able to navigate to has its own ID. And the ID is how you look up that object. So as you create new objects that get new IDs, that means that you can create a URL that navigates to that thing with that ID, right? Every object has its own ID. So that's dynamic linking. Deep linking means, hey, those URLs can come to my app from outside, and I can crack them open and navigate my app to the right page, and in fact, build up a whole stack of pages if needed. Now, the parameters, let me talk about here.
I'm back.
The parameters, hey Simon, missed you. The parameters are passed via this pattern, this well-known pattern in the Navigator world, colon, and then some name, some parameter name. And so I already do the parsing. I pull that out. If that parameter isn't present, you never get to this page builder. So it's safe to just say, hey, state.params, and then you pull out. It's just a map, a set of name value pairs. You pull out that data and off you go. However, there's another way to pass parameters into a route, which is via query parameters, where you can actually pass in. Let me show you an example. Here it is. You can say, hey, route with all the whatever parameters you want, inline parameters, question mark, and then a set of name value pairs, just like query parameters on the web. In fact, I use the exact same parsing code on the URL or URI type in Dart. And the idea here is you can pass any set of name value pairs, but there's two sets of parameters. Now, right now, what I do is I take all of the inline parameters and all the query parameters and I dump them into one set of name value pairs with the idea that if you duplicate them, that's really an error that you should fix. That's how I built the API in the first place. However, I had a very astute person post an issue on my GoRouter yesterday and said, gosh, there's nothing in the spec for your URIs that says that query parameters have to be unique and different from inline parameters, and now you've just restricted the set of URLs that you can consume in your in your Go routing, which is especially important if you're trying to move an existing app with an existing set of links.
Am I right in thinking just the example is you're saying when you've got the same key name repeated multiple
That's
times
right.
in the URL? Yeah.
Well, and it's it's the same key name both in whether it's inline parameters or query parameters, right? That I've unified the namespace, and the person who reported the issue was right to point out that's not okay. That's not how URIs work. They can be the same name, and they're in different spots.
It's kind of interesting because it's the same common pattern you have with HTTP headers. You can have headers the same name repeated multiple times, and officially, the value is an array of strings at that point, right? You've got multiple values for the same header, and that's essentially the same thing in that case, right? You've got the same key with multiple values.
Yeah. So so I am not asking about having the same key with multiple values. I still think that's bad. However, the person made the question, well, gosh, can't you at least have params and query params, right? So that I could at least separate those two namespaces out. And, there's a pretty much well-known convention when it comes to query parameter parsing that says, and in fact, this is represented in the Dart URI class. If you just say query parameters, it's whatever the last one set that value was. So if you have the same query parameters multiple times, the last one will be the known value. You have to call another method if you want all of them, right? So that's
it does actually store all of them though in the standard URI. It does.
No, I understand that. And what this person is asking for is, gosh, could I just have two namespaces, right? Params and query params.
Gotcha. Sorry. Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, now I have one more thing in the state object. Do I really want to force people to look them up? 99% of the time they won't overlap. And he's like, yes, but you've now just limited what I can do, especially when it comes to making existing links on the web work in my Flutter apps. And that was the argument that I'm like, oh yeah, no, I get it. I don't want to limit that. I want people to be able to take existing links on the web and make them work on their Flutter mobile app. So I took a poll. It's still going. I'm asking, hey, is it worth the complexity of adding another parameter to state to be able to separate out these two namespaces?
Is it something you could do where you take one namespace and hang on, is it workable to take one namespace and redirect it onto the other one, right? So if query parameters is there, normally it's a one-to-one representation and yes, you add another variable to the state, right? Because you're going to need to have that if you want to break it up. But then maybe there's the 99 sort of percent. It works by default, but then it gives you the 1% chance of you can adjust it and change the behavior.
Yeah, what I'd rather do is just split them, and then because I have to. So here's the thing. So all those books and blog posts that I wrote over, an embarrassing long part of time, I can't just think about the API and the code I write. I also have to think about writing it down and describing it to somebody. And it is far simpler to just say query parameters are here, inline parameters are there, than it is to say, well, by default, I bullet them together, but if you really want to separate, call them other, the sentences form in my head, and I'm like, no, that's too hard.
It's another interesting thing. Sorry, you just reminded me of another quick thing I'll mention. Default, the word default, we know what this means, right? This is common, pattern, the word is a common thing you hear in programming, right? It's really funny when you see error messages that say, oh, the default behavior is this or something else, and an end user is like, what's default? Right? It's a bit like that, right?
Okay. I'm going to have to run, folks.
Okay. Well, I think we'll go for a little bit longer.
But I have a few minutes, Scott. It was a pleasure to catch up as always.
Hey, thanks for coming, Chris, and I will see everyone next week.
All right.
See you. We actually have a couple of questions coming, so let's see what we can pick up on these. Let's have a look. can I get some data from the URL or some API calls based on that in GoRouter? This is what we just spoke about. So, so the data in the URL is the query parameters. This is called params at the moment in GoRouter. Am I right in saying that, Chris?
Well, so there's actually two ways to pass in parameters, one that affects routing and one that does not. The ones that affect routing are really inline parameters, right? I have, /foo /:, ID.
Right, so path parameters, yeah.
Right, so path parameters, right? That's a good way to say it, path parameters. That's there. You can use that today. You can pass whatever data URI accepts in those parameters. And then you can pass optional parameters at the end using the query parameters.
And those aren't used for matching.
And they are not used as part of the routing at all.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I explicitly strip them out before I start doing it.
Well, it's interesting because that's a common practice in HTTP where path is used for caching, query string is not.
That's right. That's right. So the answer is yes, you can pass that data in both cases, both path parameters and query parameters in GoRouter, fully supported. You can crack them out while you're building your page and do whatever you like with them, whether it's a synchronous or asynchronous lookup. And I've got examples of doing both in the GoRouter docs.
And yeah, as it says here, like profile /username or username can be anything. Yeah, that's a path parameter. So you put, am I right in thinking you put colon before username?
Yeah, so it's almost like that. You say profile : and then the path that you specify that says, well, here's what the pattern is, would be profile /: username.
And then username is the key that you in the params that you look up.
And then when you say today state.params, whatever, then you use the string username to figure out what the value was that they passed in at runtime. That's how you get dynamic and deep linking.
Phantom asks, what about Dion routing in apps? I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I can talk a little bit about this. I mean, dependency injection and routing is two separate things. You could certainly use dependency injection in how you use it, because I mean that the way that the router builders work, I think was it called Route Builder? Go Route Builder, I think something like
that. There was early on. There was kind of a low level called Builder.
But sorry, I was just looking. Yeah, but the page builder itself.
The page builder, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So GoRoute has a page builder, and at that point, you've got an optional piece of logic that you can inject, and you can use that to pull in your dependencies, right, for your content inside. But originally, you're just launching a widget, so there's no reason why you can't just launch a widget, and that has its dependencies from whatever dependency injection mechanism you want. Get it or have a name one. So. Got another one here. Is there any way to make default route other than /?
100%. Yes. You can just pass in an initial route and it'll go to that instead. Now, that will only work in the case that you're not doing deep linking, right? So if you wake up and you have an initial route set and, the route would have otherwise been, / then it will go to what the initial routing.
So you're talking about like the app gets launched from a deep link.
Yep.
And then
but if you are launched from a deep link, then the initial homepage or the initial route location would not be /. It would be
it's using the deep link.
In which case, initial route is ignored altogether, which I think is the right behavior.
I think so as well.
I admit I'm unbiased, or I'm completely biased actually.
Yeah, that's the same person asking the same question, slightly differently. Which
yes. Oh, the other way to do it, by the way, I mean, the interesting thing about GoRouter is you've got a couple of mechanisms to use here. I go back and forth between using initial route, depending on the behavior I want, versus, if someone actually navigates to /, they'll still go. Somebody will still look up that route.
Yeah.
But you can use route level redirection. Just say, oh, if they're going to /, just go.
Exactly. So your route, so your / route could be a redirect route to /main or something. And actually, that works quite well in case of like your guarded route, because you could guard route it and then get it to like login or to like main or dashboard or whatever it is. Let's see what else we have here. Thanks very much, Kevin. Have a great day. It's good to be appreciated.
Now I have all this pressure. I have to somehow go out and have a great day. What if I was only going to have a good day?
Well, what happens if I'm having a mediocre day?
Yeah, that lowers the bar. I can do that. I
can always do that.
That's right.
I'm kind of like, I was going to say that bug that we found. Did you ever? I'm kind of curious. Did you ever look into that anymore?
I did what everyone does, which is I figured out what the fix was.
The workaround.
I knew what the fix was before, and we dug through it, and you're like, "Yep, that's the fix."
That's the workaround. That works.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It feels very much like a workaround and not an actual fix. But in all of my testing and practice, it works great. And so I had a choice. Did I dig in and figure out the why and see if it's really a bug in Flutter, or if it's just, that is the right way to solve the problem? Or do I start adding new features and fixing other issues? And it's always the trade-off, right?
It's very curious. Like, I think the only difference I could think of when you do was it push and go, right? And the mechanisms, but they both use Route Navigator 2 pattern to update the stack. I don't honestly couldn't tell you what was happening there off the top of my head right now, but yeah, there's definitely something interesting going on. But when you go look at the code, the Go Router code, you realize actually how complicated this process is. There's a lot of moving parts, right? To build
it is, and that's the feedback we got, right? Which is yes, Navigator 2, the Router API, it lets you do any damn thing, and it really does. But how do I do the simple things, right? And so the idea was in Go Router and all of these custom routers, not just me, right? I'm by far away not the first one in this space. But the goal of any custom router is make the simple things simple in a declarative, simple way, and then make the harder things at least possible. And I've taken that same point of view with Go Router, and hopefully people find it useful.
Okay, what else do we have here? So,
actually, Simon,
if you've got Go, that's fine. We're going to leave this open. I think that's the end of the Go Router questions right now. And if you need to head off, please.
Right, it was great to see you.
Thanks for
coming, it was great to have you. Thank you for your time as always, and we'll speak again.
I'm sure we will. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
And then there was two. Hey, Steph, how's it going?
Huh? Pretty good.
How's it going? You all right?
How's it going? I'm doing great today. Yes, I'm having a great day.
So I think we're going to answer a couple more questions. So if anyone's still here watching, I haven't checked the stats, please make sure you put any question, Flutter or Dart related question that you have in the chat, and we'll do our best to give you some advice or to answer your problem. So I've got a couple more here that I'm going to pick up. If I want to use block for state management, where I need to start reading, what is the best way to use block? There's actually some great articles in the community about Flutter block. So you're looking specifically for Flutter_block. That's the package that was made by Felix, one of the community members who works at VGV actually now. And if you go look up, there's a bunch of, I think there's some blog posts on VGV, but there's definitely some in the Flutter community YouTube and Flutter community Medium page. And you'll find some information about that. The concepts of block are like stream in, stream out, take events and change them into state. These principles don't have to be sort of adhered to strictly, right? The idea of block is more about the separation of concerns. So what you're trying to do is separate your business logic from your UI, and then you can test your business logic and your UI independently of each other. That's just one of the many reasons why this is a great idea. The other one is about declarative UI in the fact that you can receive a stream of data from your business logic, that's your block, into your widget, and your widget just updates the UI to represent the current state. And that's a very powerful concept, because if you weren't using the declarative UI, you would be adding and removing widgets and trying to make sure that the UI is maintaining state with the actual app state, and that's a complicated process. So this kind of notion of just having a stream and rebuilding the UI is pretty much used in every Flutter app because of the nature of declarative UI. And there's actually a chapter in the upcoming book about streams, so you'll learn more about it there. Keep reading. See, I'm good. I'm good, Steph. I can link things together. what else do we have here? New to Flutter, I have some apps built, but how am I supposed to distribute my app to users and how to roll out updates? Okay, so there is a chapter on distribution in the new book. Two chapters. There you go.
Two. There's one for Android and there's one for iOS.
So that will help. To be honest, you're dealing with a native. That each one is complete. The reason why there's two chapters, they're completely separate. They're completely individual. They both have their own mechanisms, and the only way you're going to learn this is really digging in deep, right? Like there's literally documentation pages made by Google for this process, and the same for iOS. And a lot of it comes, and a lot of the things that I know about from this come from experience. So, but distribution of apps goes through the stores. So you got the Play Store has like a login called the Play Store console, again in the chapter of the book, and then iOS has the App Store Connect, it's called, which their kind of login management panel. If you want
There's
to do
also
updates,
a chapter.
Go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say if you want to do updates, then there's both of them have their own There's an alpha channel, beta channel thing that's on the Play Store, and Test Flight on iOS, which allow you to roll out updates. But also, I believe CodeMagic just rolled out their own sort of management that allows you to manage these beta channel things as part of your deployment. CodeMagic, that's codemagic.io, is the website, is a continuous deployment and continuous integration platform. So that allows you to make your code changes, you update your branch, and it automatically runs the test and sends it out on the Play Store for people to use. So there's literally like nothing manual you need to do about the whole entire process. It's all automatic, which is brilliant because it is a massive pain.
There's a chapter in before the distribution part that also walks you through creating image or assets for deploying to the store for both stores.
Nice. It is one of the things, right? There's a whole set of requirements that iOS have and a whole set of requirements that Android have to meet their store requirements. And it just, there's the first time you do it, it's always the most sort of like the worst thing. Like it could take you a good few days just to get all the assets together, get everything prepared, get everything ready to press that final submit for review button. And then even then you might get feedback from Apple or Google saying, oh no, you need to change this, or you can't do that and you need to change it. And then you apply those changes, and basically at the end of the day, Apple and Google, their own door bouncers on their own platform, right? They're gonna make sure that only the most credible products and apps get into the stores, which is fair enough. I mean, there's I can't remember what the stats were now. Is it like, I think it was like 100,000 apps a month or something? I can't remember what it was. It's like going into these stores now.
Yeah,
huge numbers of these are going out, and it's like, they need to put some restrictions in place.
There was a question. If you could bring it up.
I'm going to make my way down.
Regarding.
I'm just going to make my way down, and then and if there's a question already there, we'll get to it. Sorry, because otherwise I'm going to lose track of where I am. So I know Chris isn't here anymore, but I want to get this answered. There is the main bit of documentation is the README. So that's what you see on the package. And then below that, at the very bottom, you'll find links to all the examples, which are great things. But to be honest, it's so new, no one's written any articles yet. So you get to be the first. Try it out and write up your experiences. And if you write them up in a Medium article, you can submit them to the Flutter community. So if you go to medium.com, Flutter-community, I think it is. You can, there's a section on there about how to submit, and it will take you walk you through how you can submit your own article, and then you'll be published, and everyone else can learn from your example. And this is some of the power of the community that we're trying to push, is that there's so much to it to play around and investigate. There's not one person can do everything, or not one group of team of people can do everything. So give the information freely that you've learned back to the community, and everyone will learn and bring everyone up. What else do we have? No, we read that one. I've lost my place. No, there we go. Can I combine programming language in Flutter like Python for ML uses? So Flutter itself is Dart, right? Now there are some external packages out there. There's one that does like a C# interface, I think, and there's a couple others that try and integrate with the Flutter SDK. I don't know of any Python one yet, but if it's just that you're trying to do Python for machine learning, that's normally done server side. There's nothing to do with the app, right? Your app is what goes on the phone. You normally wouldn't put Python code on your phone. If you're trying to do machine learning on your phone, you have to use the machine learning chips, which have their own Android and iOS SDKs that are nothing to do with Python. So yeah, I would go research a bit more about what you're actually trying to achieve. But if you're trying to use Python for machine learning, that always happens server side. There's nothing to do with on device. So in which case you probably need an API or to do like a server, server implementation. What's this? Can we make a proper step-by-step guide for the new Android splash screen? I think this is a splash screen chapter, isn't there, in part of the book or something to do with that?
It's in the book too.
There we go. So yes, you can go find that from the book right now.
We might want to put the link back up too.
Oh yeah. For those that are joining late, you want to go to flutter.dev/apprentice-giveaway, and you can follow the sign-up process and get a copy of the Flutter Apprentice book for free right now. And
you have to go through this link because someone posted a question that they only saw that they could only get to the first 6 chapters. You have to go through this link if you have not already purchased the book. If you're wanting to get it for free, go through that link to sign up your account.
And stick with us because from now until December, well, midway through December, we're going to be doing weekly book club where we're going to be going through chapters of the book and helping people build an app along the way. So stay tuned, as it were. What is the next question on that list? How to launch an app from the background, even if it's killed from some notification like WhatsApp call. You're going to have to be a bit more descriptive about that. How to launch an app from the background, even if it's killed with some notification. Apps aren't killed from notifications. The app is still running in the background. If you want to bring it back to the foreground, well, what is going to instantiate that? Like, what effects the user going to have to bring it out to the foreground? You can't take over the user's device. The user is in full control of their device, right? Or do you mean that you want to bring your app to the foreground, like when you get a WhatsApp phone call? Like, bing, you've got a phone call from someone on WhatsApp. If you're trying to do that, I think I answered this last week, it's called a full screen intent notification on Android. And both platforms have their own mechanisms, and you would have to implement the platform-specific behavior either in your own plugin or go to see if the pub.dev has its own, someone's actually written a plugin. There was local notifications, Flutter local notifications package, and that has some of this in there. I'm not sure if it does the full screen intents, but no, there's just any go read up on Android and iOS and you'll find the specific details, but it is a platform-specific behavior. It's nothing to do with Flutter, right? What else do we have? I saw Duolingo Android is able to change the preferred keyboard layout at runtime depending on what language you should type. Is it possible with Flutter? Yes. I mean, I need to look at Duolingo. So first of all, you can just do a custom keyboard, right? So even if forget Android or not, it's just a widget, right? It's just a view with buttons. So you can just do your own keyboard layout and then have it change however you want, right? Obviously, it's not the user's preferred mechanism, so they might not like that. So a lot of banking apps do this. So banking apps don't let you use the a lot of banking apps don't let you use the Android keyboard because it's a third-party app. They could be intercepting your bank numbers that you're typing in and your usernames and passwords and whatever else, right? So for their own security, they always use their own keyboard input inside the apps. That's the reason why, because it's not an external process. So that's one of the reasons on Android they do this. However, you do get to control the keyboard, like what layout it has. So there's a part of text field. You can change the text input type to like number, text, and so on. Language, I don't see a reason why that would be any problem. Again, I need to look at the Duolingo app to give you more of an explanation of that. I suspect there's probably a possibility of looking at your So on Android, it uses what's called an input connection, which is the link between the keyboard and your app. And there's probably now a locale that you can specify. And if that's the case, then yeah, there might be some custom platform code to get that behavior on Android, but there's no reason why you couldn't do that. I mean, I would suggest you try changing your locale in the app space. So I think it's ui.window.locale. You might be able to set it, in which case it might affect the keyboard. What else do we have here? Is there any way to pass data directly to a controller on navigating to a new page? Just pass the variable. I'm not sure what you mean by that. If it's like a block further down in your widget, then you can use an inheritor widget to go get it, because you don't want to be passing it down the tree. So you normally have like what's called a provider. So you put a provider at the top of your tree inside your route builder, and then further to somewhere in your page, you can then go get that data. I hope that helps. Again, you need to use it's a free book. It's free right now. It's because you've signed up not using the Google links. You need to go through the Google page to sign up, and you'll get this for free. Yeah, and that's another point just to mention this, that yeah, as was just Free was saying, just because they're not labeled free doesn't mean you can't access them. So I wonder actually if you want to feed that back, Steph, maybe they can add the free label to the other chapters for the moment.
It's because of the going through and registering through the Google link.
No, I understand that, but I'm just trying to say that even Majid earlier, he had access to the chapters, but it didn't say free.
Right.
I'm just thinking about, like, I wonder if there's a way of saying.
The reason they're not putting the free there is if they go to the website and they haven't registered through the Google, then they don't have access.
Right. My point was just saying, why not ask them to update the website, the logic in the website, so that if you've got an account, it says that this is accessible to you, right? So, because if it says free and that you don't have that, it is or just remove the free labels when you've got it, right? Because you've got access to all of it. Like there's no differentiation.
I'll reach out to them and see if
it is quite confusing when we just saw that. It was like, oh, these are free, but these aren't, right? Like,
yeah, I'll relay that information. Thanks.
Is null safety going to be mandatory in Flutter in feature? It already is, in a sense, right? Your all future Dart code is null safe. You can run your code with no null safety, and you can get around that, and you can comment in your code, but I don't know if it's going to make it mandatory as such. I don't see a reason why you would not want to do this. You'd find so many bugs by switching to null safety and resolve so many issues in the app. You didn't even know what issues that are probably happening. Yeah, it's just way better. Go look into it. Is there any way that we can call a Dart function in C++ as a callback? Reverse is possible via FFI. Actually, there is, because I've done it. How do I do it again? That is a good question. I'm trying to remember what I did. No, so that's it. So what you're looking for is in Dart in the Dart FFI. Hang on, let me see if I can share this on stream. So when you set up FFI, if I can find it, did the one time, oh no, native API, there it is there. So this is the key. So native API class exposes this API, and basically down here, initialize app dynamic load data is what you call at the beginning of your whatever your native code is. And then what's going to happen is it actually exposes an array of function pointers. That's can't even see it here. I'm sure it's represented here somewhere. I forget where. Oh no, it's a return result of that initializer, isn't it? point of void. Sorry, the return result of this initialize is actually an array of symbols. An array of functions, symbol functions that enables native code to access it. But you don't need to do any special code. Basically, if you go look up this Dart, I could probably find it right now, to be honest. Here we go. Let's see if I can reshare that. Hang on. Oh, it wasn't even sharing on stream. No, well, never mind. Hang on. Come on, Steph. You're my co-host here. You got to tell me about these things.
Sorry, I was responding to the team about the free thing. And I don't have the superpowers that you do.
I'm not.
And I wasn't looking at your screen. I'm sorry.
So what I was saying was, the Dart SDK has this, in FFI has this class called native API. And this is how Dart code and C code communicate, and it's communicated through this C header. We'll go into that in a minute. Well, definitions in the C header, but you have to call this initialize app DL data. There is some examples of this in the SDK. I can't remember where. Here you go. Expose a subset of symbols. All symbols are prefixed with underscore DL, dynamically loaded by this, blah blah blah. This. So yeah, there you go. Link this with your file. Link this file from the Dart SDK. It's in this folder, I think, to your library, and invoke this method from that library, and it will with the result of this function, it will initially link it all together, basically. So then what happens is you get a list of all of these Dart APIs that you can call straight from your C code, and part of this is calling a function. So there's actually a way of post. I think that's the one. Yeah, post, port ID, and handle. So you can call back from your C code into your Dart code with this. So you send a send port. You get a send ports. You basically send over a send port to your native code, new native port here, and then these functions that the functions that you get back will be called. There you go. So basically, you do this, and then this native message handler function will get the reference back from when the stuff's posted to the port. Anyway, you can also do the vice versa. The post C object is sending it the other way, right? So sending an object from Dart to native, if I remember rightly. But there is actually in the FFI, if I can find it, it might be in this, but there's examples of all of this in the FFI libraries. I forget where. There you go. Android delegate stub. There's probably a bunch of stuff in here that you can go look at on how it all works. I'm not going to do FFI right now. That's a topic all of itself. But hopefully that helped answer your question. Yes, you can access the book. You can access the book right now on, if I can find the link, this one. flutter.dev/apprentice-giveaway. If you sign up to Rainer Window through this link, you get the book for free.
And I added that link in the chats too. So as people are going through. Mm-hmm.
What else do we have here? Quickly, let's get through these questions. I've lost where I am. Not helpful. Right. Mandarin Flutter. Nope. So the Android S Kotlin changes. There's a page in the flutter.dev site. Bear with me 1 second. Let's see if I can find it for you. I remember where I actually used it myself. It was a while ago. Bear with me. Yes, that's the one. So yeah, if you go to, I'll put the URL in the chat channel, this URL, it walks you through doing this, including what the changes are in Android S, which is further down here, I believe. Yeah, Android S, there we go. See Android splash screen. And this is the new, the new 12 splash screens, which I've actually implemented a few things myself. And this tells you what you need to change in your app and how it works. But yeah, it's a relatively straightforward thing. You just remove stuff from your manifest, and depending on how you want to do your splash screen, you can hook in some code. But yeah, you need to read up about how Android does it now, because it has changed. But yeah.
And when I talked to one of the authors, there's something later in the book that when that came out, there were updates that were done to it. Because I'm not historically an Android developer, I can't speak to the specifics of those. But we will have book authors attending the book club in future weeks.
Excellent. So is there any way to know if an app is in PWA mode, like platform is PWA? Yes, it's called is web. That's it. I think it's platform.isWeb. Web being PWA, right? So yes, that works. Is it possible to create a custom sliver which renders a FE button inside that appears at the bottom, sticks to it, and when visible grows to max width, and when fold down scroll? Yes, in short. Yeah. So, but the problem here is slivers are very complicated. You might be better off just honestly making a stack with your button in the bottom, and then just making an animated builder that listens to your scroll controller. So when you scroll, it rebuilds the widget, and then you can change the size or fractionally sized box or whatever it is around that to make your animation or your UI change take place. So yeah, honestly, like slivers work, and they're very much an optimal solution to the problem, but they're not simple. Okay, so don't think you're going to be able to magically throw something together. It's not a beginner. I've written some very complicated ones, and it's taken me a lot longer than I expected. Put it that way. So yeah. You're welcome. It's always nice to have a thank you. Yeah, so this is what we're saying. Yeah, so all the chapters don't have. Yeah, we need to sort out the free label. We just spoke about that. So that's fine. Anyone know if there's any free Dart online events coming up in the next few weeks? I don't know of any. I've not heard of any recently.
We have book club every week.
Yeah, join the book club every week. Come back every
Read
week
your
and
chapters,
we'll be here.
Come to book club.
Oh, here's a nice, interesting question, Steph.
So we started with first edition June of 2020. We started, that was when we started getting everything together. Part of our process is, we have to do the outline. We, do all of that. The actual writing started in September of 2020. And we published June of 2021. Part of that was because Google kept changing, and we waited until after the 3.3 event from March. And then we were able to get things updated with that. And so first edition was published in June. Then in August, late August, we started with the second edition updates and got them done. Pencils down was last Friday. We're still waiting on a forward from someone, Simon.
Okay.
But other than that, that's how long it took.
Joyce, it's like most programming, right? It's never going to be over because things change. Things keep changing, especially in the software world. Things change all the time. So as long as you stay on top of these things, then the changes are incremental. But if you just leave it a long time, then it's just like it's impossible to update that sort of content to make it that new. So yeah, I'm sure
something else I want to say is it's on the book page, but you don't have to wait to ask questions from the book team itself. We have a forum on raywenderlich.com that has it's to have those conversations and things like that. So if you have something come up and you don't want to wait or can't wait or whatever, you can actually have access to the book team on the Ray Wenderlich forums.
I will also mention that there is a Flutter community Slack channel that you can join, and you can ask your questions and join a conversation with everyone instantly and live through Slack. So there you go. Right, let's carry on. This is an interesting one for me, at least. Can we please add more icons to animated icon widget? Currently has less default icons. So basically, I found this. You can't extend the animate default icons, even if you have like the vector information for the animation. You can't implement them. They're private, and it's always been a restricted subset of like menu to cross to menu. Like these are by the way, if you don't know, Steph, these are the like you have like the burger menu. There's like a little like morph animation which turns into like an X. So that's like menu to close.
Oh, okay.
There's also close to menu, and then there's like play to pulse, and the play button turns into 2 like bars for the pulse, and you can change it back again. Well, there's a restricted subset of limited options, and they haven't updated since I think Flutter came out when it was alpha. I think I don't think it's changed. I may be wrong. So what I'd recommend here is don't tell us. Raise an issue ticket on the repo. Be more than just this one sentence. Point out the class, point out the exact problem that you're having, the type of icon that you wish it had, right? And that the classes are private, and you like to, if you could only implement it yourself, it'd be better, and whatever else you want to do, and expound upon the problem, and then tweet about it, get it out there, and get other developers thumbing up. As soon as the more thumbs up you get on your issue ticket, the more it's going to be noticed by the Flutter team. That's the best way of doing it, right? It's a feature enhancement, right? Okay. How are we doing? How the book was.
My day job's calling, so I'm gonna have to leave soonish.
Okay.
How is the book written? Oh, the chapters are written in Markdown, and we all some use the same tools, some don't. I use Typora, and then it's all put into a GitHub that's a private GitHub, and then it's used from there for the rendering to the website, for printing, and all of that kind of stuff. Our development was all done using Android Studio. We did do testing with VS Code, but the whole book is using Android Studio. You can use whatever your choice of IDE is. And yeah, we just, it's IntelliJ, whatever. So, and we just talked, and we had regular meetings, and so the tooling that we used was, and we also tested both on iOS and Android. There was some desktop and web, but the details of those aren't in full scope of the book.
Thank you. Okay, someone's come back to us. The K is web works when the app is in a browser, but if installed, at least for me, correct me if I'm. It doesn't. It should. So the way that is web works is it detects JavaScript. So what it's actually doing is saying, is 0 integer the same as 0.0 double? On a native platform, that's not the case. On web, it is. That was the original way of doing it. I can't remember what it does now. You can also, when you compile your Dart code, you can give it a Dart define. So you can add -- define equals, and then have key versus value, key equals value, and in doing that, you can then use string dot from environment to extract the key value pair during compile time, and you can just basically say, oh, if this Dart define exists now, I compiled it for web, right, and do it yourself. But what you might have found is a bug. If it's not working both those scenarios, it's probably be a bug in Flutter and needs to be addressed. So raise a ticket. Honestly, I know I keep saying that, but honestly, raise a ticket. I'm learning Flutter recently. Can you suggest how I can move forward into the community after learning Flutter? There's no stopping learning Flutter, right? So it's not like you. But if you want to move into the community, join the chat channels, make friends. Start a project with someone. There's lots of options out there, but definitely, go to flutter.dev/community and you'll find ways of communication. and also look at the Flutter community Medium. And if you want to like expose yourself to more of the community, write a Medium article. I'm sure that there's lots. If you've got something interesting to talk about, it will be accepted and shown to many people. Right. Looks like last quick question. Which solutions explain the book for state management? I mean, go click on the state management chapter and have a look and see what it says. Do you have any notion of that, Steph, quickly while we're here before we finish
Yes,
up?
I did. I tech edited that chapter. There are several that are discussed. The main one that is used for one of the chapters is provider, but the others are all discussed. As Simon said, you'll go and read the chapter in the book.
Right. I think that's it. Thank you for all the good vibes. It's great to have you all here and learning with us.
How about you play Tim and Chris's video?
Should we play the video one last time for people that stuck around?
Yep. And people who came, because there was someone who commented that they came in late, so they don't know what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, carry on watching.
I'm Tim Sneath, and I'm the Director of Product Management for Flutter and Dart here at Google. So we're really excited to announce a new partnership with Ray Wenderlich, the team behind what we think is an exceptional learning resource, and that's the book Flutter Apprentice. And we're giving away the Flutter Apprentice book to you to read, to learn Flutter over the next 3 months. We really like this book because it takes you on a journey from Hello World, or in Flutter's case, the counter app, all the way to building a fully featured app. And along the way, you'll get a grand tour of key parts of the framework. It's full of practical and update examples. It includes code labs, and it's written with Flutter 2.5 in mind. So we think you'll really like it. And to help you make your way through the book, we're also co-producing a book club with the Flutter community. So each week, our newest Flutter DevRel team member, Craig Lebenz, will take you through key concepts from a couple of chapters. You'll also have the opportunity to ask questions about those chapters live to Craig, to the authors of the book, and to other panel guests. We hope the book club will keep you excited and reading through the end. And it's worth making it to the end, where, spoiler alert, you'll learn how to deploy your apps to iOS and Android. So please join us every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, on the Flutter Community YouTube channel. See you there.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, I'm Craig Lebenz from the Flutter team. Each week, you're going to get a reading assignment, and then the following week, we'll cover all the concepts together. I'll also be live coding a sample app that will build up over the next 10 weeks, applying the concepts from the book as we go. I'm not going to code the whole thing live on air. That's way too boring. But the full repository will be made available. We hope that you'll code along with us, applying the same concepts, but using your own app design with a theme that interests you. This is one of the best ways to learn. For the next week, your reading assignment is chapters 1 and 2. In our first episode, we're going to walk through those chapters and talk about how you can get going with your own app that you're going to create along with us. And now, take it away, Stephanie.
Hi,
Hey, Dash. Hey, Stephanie.
yeah, you enjoy doing that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I did like I had to catch it. Do my bit. It's super awkward. It's fun.
You did a great job. It worked out well.
It worked out. Yeah, it did. And thanks to Ezra for editing the video. By the way, that was
yes. Ezra did a fantastic job.
So I'll be putting some cover artwork on the video and pushing it up onto the YouTube channel alongside this video, and it'll be going into the playlist along with there'll be placeholders for the next 8 weeks or whatever it is for each one of the book club meetings. So they'll be there for everyone to put a reminder on, and we'll see you all then. Thank you for joining us, and as always, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.